I have no other questions.
Are there any members of the public who'd like to speak on item number 5?
Real quick, I did just enable the live stream, and I can't remember if sometimes there's like okay, wait,
It's a beautiful voice.
okay, there we go. I knew that was gonna happen.
And to catch up.
No, no public comment. Any other commission questions? So before we deliberate, I'll close the public hearing. The time is 5:54 PM. Any deliberation, commission?
Have we heard from any of the surrounding property owners?
Actually, I did have somebody walk in today with just some questions about the site. She did not express any opposition to the plan, and she was actually happy to find out that the southern building was planned to be demolished because apparently the prior users of the site were causing some issues. That's not going to be, they're obviously different owners now, but that's the only correspondence we've had related.
Good.
Are they leaving the old pickup that's still there?
We can make them take it out.
No, that's the first thing I always think of seeing this parcel, but
I don't know. I haven't gotten that. I think it's gonna be removed because it's a small space. If he wants to have vehicles, he's gonna need that room, I would think.
Know what the plans are for, I know there's got to be a significant amount of space for that inventory, but it also seems like that area is difficult from a site plan perspective to get, patrons of the business in there. I think it's a little early to talk about that, but that's something I would be concerned at the next phase of the site plan type
Mhm.
process.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Tearing down one of those buildings will help immensely, but you're right. It is a very small lot. I think the gentleman who wants to open this up, I think he has other small auto dealerships in town. I want to say on the northeast side of Des Moines, perhaps. I'm not certain of that, but he also is an investor, I think, in El Dorado. The restaurant where Twin Peaks used to be next to Barnesville and West Des Moines. So he does a variety of things.
Any other deliberation from the commission? Hearing nothing, I'll entertain a motion. Item 5.
Motion.
4 seconds.
Lori, would you call the roll for us, please?
Brown, Steiger,
Aye.
Samuelson,
Aye.
Forrest,
Aye.
Grant, Reginator.
Aye. Item number 6, request from United Properties Investment Co. for approval of the final plat of Marketplace Townhomes at Echo Valley Plat 1. Elliot, would you brief us on this item?
Yep, so this is phase 1 out of 3 for the first 16 units of the townhomes off Marketplace Drive, just south of Alice Place. And the plat plan is pretty self-explanatory. There's not much public infrastructure going into this. Private roads, public water main, that sort of thing that we've seen before in similar projects. The second phase of this, probably should have put the prelim plat in here as well, but the second phase, at least in that plan, is to do the units to the north and then some of them immediately to the east, prior to the extension of that Hayden Lane access point. There are 4 fourplexes. That's pretty much it. The development engineer is here tonight to answer any questions that I can't, so happy to field those if need be.
Can you go back up to the picture?
The
Nope.
Burgess.
The drawing, right, it's a couple pages up. Yeah, right in there, thanks.
Hey, Elliot, have all the concerns brought up by council and fire department about access and easements, the things we're talking about, I think last time, the preliminary plat with the council, has all that been resolved?
Yeah, there was some road geometry that
Yeah.
had to be edited, and yes, that was addressed prior to council approving the site plan.
So the back of the townhomes will be to Marketplace Drive.
In a manner of speaking, I think the design of them is gonna be appealing from the street front. Since
Garage is on the inside.
it'll be garages on the inside, so they'll kind of front Marketplace, but be accessed in the rear, so to speak.
And then how about the ones on the east? Will they share garage doors? I'm assuming that both garage doors will be on Brooks Place.
Yep. Same thing will happen on the north side of Hayden Lane, and then the units that are in the future phases to the east. Oriented a little bit different.
Who decides when it's a private road versus public road?
Usually let the developers propose it. Sometimes staff has an opinion regarding that. Typically with newer townhome developments, it's been on private roads. Personally, I like the idea of private roads because it's less of a future obligation for the city to maintain in the future. Also, something that a private road can do is it can be a little bit narrower or just designed differently. There's a different set of standards for public and private roads that can provide flexibility if the situation warrants it.
But our city council has been trying to get away from that.
Yep, yep.
All concerning the townhomes that are over by the legacy, which have become a crazy connection.
Yeah, some of the council concerns about private streets is when they make through connections
official
to public
turnaround?
streets.
It is, it's board approved.
Crazy connection.
Yeah.
A lot of the need for private streets arises out of getting density for an R3 project, because a private street doesn't have the typical setbacks and right-of-way needs that a public street does. So a lot of it's just really the dimensionality of being able to get the density that R3 allows.
May I also ask, is the Marketplace, because it's a Cupola enterprise, right? Are they doing the street different than the other ridge areas?
Thank you.
Dean,
Yes.
take it away. Yeah.
No curb, no, and then, because there's a lot of streets up there that are failed.
Could you give us your name and your address, please?
Sure. Dean Ronger with CDA here on behalf of, actually, I'm here on behalf of the developer. Capola is selling this to Shift Collective, the Marketplace Townhomes LLC. So the Capolas are actually not the ones developing it. They're selling it to Marketplace Townhomes LLC. And no, these streets they'll have curbs. They'll basically, they're like roll curbs. So there'll be storm sewer. Yeah, it's gonna look like a city street for the most part. The curbs are rolled a little bit because there's driveways all the way along them, just for ease of entry into the driveways, but no, otherwise it's about the same width as a public street, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing from you is that this won't be an issue where we have over at Legacy, where we have a private street that now is connecting to a public. That this will only provide access to private for now and in the future plots. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, there's no way to connect anything in this area because there's a creek to the east and there's nothing else to connect to, so it's a little different situation.
Unless the over 55 wanted to make a little trail there. Just for the group too.
Like the
Thank you.
Yes.
Are any other members of the public here to speak on item number 6?
I'll just make a couple comments if I could real quick in the public setting. I think it's legal for me to talk when I'm in the public setting. Yeah, I think Don hit it pretty close on the concerns that the council normally has as far as private streets go, you know. That when they end up being through streets, it's not a good idea. And we haven't had good experience with that, right? And then the other thing that she hit on that's really important, and that's the quality of the construction of those private streets, right? And so these are different people that are doing it than what the Capola people had done, you know. And I'm sure they'll get a pretty close eye as it goes through, making sure that it's not going to be just a bunch of asphalt piled on top of some, you know, dirt, that there'll be a little bit more to it than that. But I want to applaud you for bringing up the points you did, because they're very key points, I think, for the council. But the only real discussion outside of that we had, I think, was just orientation of the streets, so we could have access for the fire and EMS units. But I think that got resolved.
I was just gonna say, just because Judy's not here, can a fire truck get in there and turn around just well enough? All is well.
Any other deliberation from the commission? I'll entertain a motion on item 6.
Any question?
Steiger, second.
Larry, would you call the roll, please?
Steiger.
Yeah.
Samuelson.
Aye.
Forrest.
Aye.
Grant.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Reginator.
Aye. Item number 7, request from Diligent Development for approval of the final plat of Blooming Heights Plat 3. Elliot, would you brief us, please?
Yep, so this is as the number would indicate, third phase of Blooming Heights. It's single family residential development in a kind of horseshoe shape with potential future stub to the north. I don't foresee that property selling anytime soon. But the 46 unit subdivision, all the stormwater infrastructure was built out in prior phases of the development. We have the final infrastructural walkthrough scheduled for, I believe, Thursday. So our city engineer, as with all plats, will go out, check the streets, check the manhole lids, the storm intakes for proper construction. And once that's complete and we get his certification, we can get approval. So pretty straightforward. Addressing this was kind of challenging, but got it figured out. There are guides to tell the zoning administrator how to do that. That's pretty much it. Happy to answer any questions.
Elliot, if you scroll up one page, there's this weird shape. Oh, that's part of the other plat. Sorry, it was just so small I couldn't read it. Gotcha. So is there, all right, there's existing there already? Gotcha.
Yep. So it's kind of we got this aerial imagery, or Esri got this aerial imagery shortly after the plat 2 got completed. So that's pretty current condition. Obviously they've paved now and they've done some dirt stabilization, but most of the stormwater infrastructure was built out in plat 2. Some of it does go to this dry detention pond over here that you can kind of see when Timberview was grading out, but yeah, it all diverges from the center.
Most of it goes to the east to that pond.
That's correct, yeah. I think it doesn't really show the grading all that well on the final plat, but
Remind me, where's the parks? I know every plat has to have.
so the parkland dedication for Blooming Heights backs onto the Timberview parkland. So there's a little stub back here called Bluebell Drive, and you can kind of make out this location of it. It's kind of an unusual shape. I know the developers are in the process of acquiring, actually, they may have already purchased those 10 acres down here that the commission reviewed a while back. And there will have to be a little bit of a parkland consideration involved with that as well. So the Blooming Heights parkland's been a little bit piecemeal, but that's where the dedication is.
Did the developer end up building out that park, or is that up to Norwalk Parks and Rec to actually
That'll be us.
put parks in there?
I believe it's gonna be, so I was on Parks and Rec before coming to planning and zoning, and this park specifically is supposed to be used as a all-inclusive parkland area, so you'll have access for handicapped, developmentally disabled, those types of folks to have, it's an all-inclusive park is what it'll end up being, so that's kind of the theme for that one.
Are there any members of the public here on item number 7? Any further deliberation from the commission or questions? A motion on item 7. Lori, would you call a roll, please?
Steiger.
Aye.
Samuelson.
Aye.
Forst.
Aye.
Grant.
Aye.
Brown. Reginator.
Item number 8, recommendation on the establishment of zoning for a portion of the Dunn property to be annexed into the city. Elliot, would you brief us on this, please?
Yeah, we haven't had an annexation in about 4 years, so this is kind of an unusual agenda item. When the city annexes property, traditionally, it's automatically zoned agricultural, AR Ag Reserve. That's why so much of the land out, if you look at our zoning map, that's why almost all of this is ag. Not just because it is, even though it's developing into housing, that's just the default for annexed land. That's been the city's policy historically, but it doesn't have to be zoned AR. It can, according to the city attorney, it can be zoned anything once it's brought into the city. So we've been working with, God, I'm blanking on the name of the company, a client, a development client on what this might be in the future. And they're proposing something that would fit into the M1 zoning classification. And M1 is what's across the street. Fits right into our future land use plans and maps as an industrial area. And so we thought it would be beneficial to the city council when going through the annexation process to have a statement or recommendation from the P and Z about what that zoning should be. So this makes sense to us, and you guys agree. So that's pretty much it. Happy to answer any questions that you guys might have about it.
Yeah, this is certified site, correct?
Yes. That's the goal.
Sure.
My only concern is you've squared it out. What goes between it and the highway? I mean, you have, obviously there's a home there, right?
Yes,
Or
and
farm.
we've been working on, you mean on this parcel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's owned by the same folks as this square that I had in the map. They own these, I think, 240-ish acres out there. And this is the portion that they're willing to sell off right now. Someday they might choose to sell off that remaining 40 acres. But right now, this is the junction that they're at.
We are, just to expand on that a little bit, Elliot, the 40 acres that we're talking about today that is requested for annexation, they're looking to do a kind of industrial park with smaller things, so not anything like the size of Windsor or Michael Foods. The city, we're still actively working with the Dunns, the family that owns the farm there, on a larger certified site. And so the thought process is that some of that highway frontage ground would be certified site potential, because you want to have a minimum 65 acres to be part of that certified site process. So that's kind of what we're thinking right now. We're continuing to work through them with that process. They've not signed anything yet, but that's our hope to have a certified site on the remainder of the Dunn property.
Why wouldn't you go through the annexation of the other spot, even if you don't know whether it's gonna be certified or not?
Mainly just because they didn't request it. There's no real push to have it in or out of the city. It's just another process we'll have to go through as part of that certified site if they decide to do that. This one's coming more because they're selling it to another developer that wants to develop it. So it's more a request of the developer, not so much the Duns. So
There's no one around there though that could come in city wise. I just, if in 5 years from now, can Prohl, if they get big or somebody come in and then they have that, it's just a weird chunk that can become right in the middle of Norwalk. I mean, if you go around, to me, it's just easier. I don't know, make it simple from the beginning. 'Cause
yeah, I hear what you're saying, because yeah, of course, we want that to be Norwalk's certified site. You don't want some weird situation to happen at some point in the future where it would be some other community certified site. I don't, this is far enough away from another community that I don't really have that concern. The main reason why it is what it is because like the city, we tend to not go out and actively annex, so we're reactionary to annexation. So someone comes and requests things, so we can expand the annexation by going to other people and asking. If they say no, then we could force them to, but then that's a whole bigger process and it ends up not being the best thing for the city to do. As a just general rule of thumb, we don't like forcing people to do things they don't want to do. So the family owning the farm right now wants to keep it in the county. We're working with them on the potential certified site, so we don't have, from a staff perspective, any concern over it not ending up being in the city at some point in the future.
Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on item number 8? Any other questions from the commission or deliberation? I'll entertain a motion on item 8. Or I guess it's not a motion, it's just a recommendation. So if we're in agreement with the M1 zoning, that's what you're looking for from us?
But yeah, basically an endorsement of the staff recommendation, I guess.
If you want to do a motion, that's fine too. It can be either way.
Let's do a motion.
4 seconds.
Lori, would you call the roll for us, please?
Samuelson.
Aye.
Forrest.
Aye.
Grant. Brown.
Aye.
Steiger. Reagan.
Aye.
And just so we're clear, the motion is for the M1.
Correct.
Okay.
Item number 9, city council update, Ed Cool.
Yes, ma'am. The only item I have is at our last session in the world of P and Z, we scheduled a public hearing for the property that you just acted on up on Sunset. So that'll happen at the next council meeting. Other than that, I don't think we had any activity in the world of P and Z in the last session. Plenty of other stuff, but not that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Economic development update. I don't think Holly's with us today. Luke, any updates as community development?
Just again, we had that
Hold on, Luke,
open
we
house.
Barely hear you.
That better?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
We had our open house at Lakewood for the comp plan a couple weeks ago and had a pretty good turnout, around probably 115 people or so. So pretty full room. As Elliot mentioned earlier, we had a lot of the residents that live southwest of town, outside of town in the county attended. We had specifically sent them some letters saying, hey, you might want to come out and give us some input on this. We had met with those folks back in like 2019 before we started the comp plan, because again, we were looking at doing some of that sewer investment down in the North River. So lots of questions about annexation. Is the city going to force people into the city? What are we doing? All this stuff. So good conversations with folks. We did have some time afterwards, did about an hour presentation, question answer session, and then allowed people to break around. We had different maps up around the room. So some folks were able to go around and ask questions of our consultants and everything. So it's pretty good. Our next step is going to be getting our steering committee back together to formalize our goals and strategies for the plan and kind of make some prioritizations initially, and then that will all come back to you all in a public hearing setting at some point here in the future, and then on to city council. So nearing the finish line for sure.
Thanks, Luke. Our next meeting is August 8th, 2022 at 5:45 p.m. I will entertain a motion for adjournment if there's nothing further.
Is that your motion?
Contact.
All in favor, say aye. Thanks, everyone. Oh, it is 6:19.
Yeah, thanks for the meeting, all of you. I appreciate you being here. I know it takes a lot of your own time, but we sure do appreciate it. So thank you.
Who's in the audience
I think.
I'm speaking out or just?
tonight? Yeah,
Oh, I'm Andrew Bank. I live over on 1220 Coolidge Street.
yeah,
Between Interstate 35 and County Line Road.
yeah.
And our property was in the new comprehensive plan deemed priority A1 for annexation into the city as a commercial industrial mixed use. And so I'm going to be attending this to keep tabs on the situation.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Also for
Sounds
the
good.
City council. So we're just kind of trying to get what information we can about what's happening.
Do you want me to add you to the P and Z mailing list? Because I can do that. I have
That would be great.
citizens on there all the time, so.
Yeah, so that the last week's meeting just kind of snuck up on us. We just heard about it in advance and attended.
Let's,
The short version, how this kind of came about was that we're putting the sewer in down there along the river.
Right.
And so we asked the question, how big a pipe do we need?
Mhm.
And so once you're thinking about that, then you have to think about the potential
Right.
uses, those areas that flow
Too
to it.
small a pipe restricts you, too big of a pipe,
Yeah.
extra expenses.
So you want to have adequate space, you don't have to do it all over you. So from our standpoint, it's nice for us to get an idea of what's being looked at. Out there and how that might develop.
Yeah, we just got concerned about the A1 priority. annexation.
You bet.
So,
Yep, no problem.
It's like I sit and I'm like,
There's a lot of work left to do.
Just getting things established out there. We don't want to take double the previous run. So,
Yeah, thank you. Glad you came. Well, we'll see you folks later.
All right.
okay, thanks, Ed.
So where you go?
Jason, how are you?
Okay, no problem. I'll do a quorum check as usual, and we'll make sure that we're good to go. Nope, no sweat.
thanks. Thank you.
I got you in the mailing list, so.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
How's it going?
Doing a little project on your house?
Yeah, we finally finished putting our, we